Welcome to the debate. Today, we're delving into the enduring controversy surrounding a strain whose name, for many, really defines premium cannabis culture. We're talking about that classic East Coast legacy, sour diesel.
It's a truly foundational name, no question, though it's one that, in my estimation, has seen its cultural cachet far outpace the, let's say, consistency and verifiable quality of the product you actually find sold under its banner today.
And that's exactly the tension we want to explore. The central question for us is this: is sour diesel's continued status as an elite cultivar actually justified by its unique performance, its potent effects, and its genetics? Or is its revered reputation now primarily an artifact of, nostalgia and just a ton of market confusion?
Well, I maintain that its current reputation is significantly inflated, and this is largely due to the widespread difficulty in verifying the authentic original cut, that specific East Coast phenotype, and the, frankly, demanding cultivation needs that just lead to high variability in the modern market.
And I'll be taking the position that sour diesel is, objectively, one of the greatest strains of all time. Its potency, its distinctly clear-headed effect, and its foundational role in modern breeding, all tracing back through the ChemDog line, I think they confirm its cultural and genetic superiority. The challenge of growing it doesn't negate the quality of the genetics themselves. Position statements. Sour diesel is rightfully legendary because it's a true cornerstone of modern cannabis genetics. I mean, its lineage traces directly back to that coveted 90s luxury strain known simply as diesel, which all began with the highly influential ChemDog 91. We're really discussing a genetic superiority that's been validated by, decades of cultural acceptance now? Its sativa-dominant effects are uniquely suited for functional daytime use. This high is defined by an invigorating, clear-headed cerebral boost. You get profound euphoria, enhanced creativity, and a surge of energy that is not jittery. This profile isn't just anecdotal. It's why artists and creatives, people like Redman, have publicly celebrated the strain for allowing them to stay focused and productive.
That description, though, it paints a picture of its theoretical peak, a peak that's achieved only under ideal and frankly very rare circumstances. The iconic nature of sour diesel is, I think, inextricably linked to an authenticity crisis. The one true sour diesel, the version worthy of the legend, is a specific clone-only cut. It's known as AJ's cut or East Coast sour diesel. Its origin story is, it's complex. It's the result of an accidental cross, maybe involving Chem 91 and Super Skunk, and its documentation is murky. The record itself states its history is mostly legend. So this lack of a clear, stable birth certificate, combined with the subsequent proliferation of mislabeled crosses, bag seed, and just inferior seed versions, has severely diluted the market. Consumers are often buying an imitation, not the legend.
But that foundational status is also rooted in the unparalleled aroma and effect profile, which is achieved through its terpene blend. That pungent aroma of, lemony, solvent funk, burnt rubber, and diesel feel. It's absolutely unmistakable. And this iconic profile results from a dominant combination of beta-caryophyllene, D-limonene, and beta-marcine. This precise synergy is what drives its fast-acting, highly functional psychoactivity, which so many consumers rely on to cut through mental fog and combat fatigue. This specific qualitative experience, I believe, transcends any market confusion.
I acknowledge the historical potency of that terpene blend, sure, but we have to address the commercial inefficiency that almost guarantees consumer disappointment. The strain is notoriously hard to grow well. It's a tall, stretchy cultivar that demands immense light intensity and absolutely pristine, sterile environments to avoid common molds like powdery mildew. And critically, its flowering time is protracted. We're often talking 10 to 12 weeks. This extended cycle is just commercially inefficient. It makes sour diesel far less attractive for large-scale operations focused on rapid turnover, and it incentivizes them to rush the harvest, which compromises the density, the flavor, and the potency. The high bar for a great result means market consistency is inherently low, and that's what fuels the skepticism.
Current debate. Okay, so let's start with that central conflict. the tension between its historical rarity and its contemporary market availability.
If the real sour diesel, the specific ECSD cut, is a clone only rooted in some accidental event, how can its status be universally legendary when the vast majority of consumers can only access inferior, mislabeled seed phenos or, just rush jobs? That inconsistency, born from its rarity, directly justifies the overrated label today.
Right. And I see why you think that, and I do agree that dilution is a pervasive problem. However, I would frame that rarity a bit differently. The very fact that the original cut is currently being deliberately preserved and legally reintroduced. I mean, we are seeing verifiable efforts like AJ Sour Diesel partnering with licensed cultivators in high-end state markets like New York. That proves its inherent verifiable quality is still recognized and still matters. It is an elite cultivar worth fighting to preserve precisely because of its foundational genetics and its superior effect profile. The difficulty of acquiring it is a testament to its value, not a flaw.
That dedication, while admirable, it only benefits a tiny niche segment of the national market. If I'm a consumer in Colorado or California, the existence of some meticulously verified batch in New York does nothing to address the 20 years of genetic dilution in my local dispensaries. The strain's fame has become a liability. It allows any generic mid-grade sativa to be branded sour diesel and sold at a premium. You're privileging the ideal, theoretical peak experience, which is essentially inaccessible to the average person, over the market average, which is what defines the strain's reputation now.
But the sheer cultural force of the strain means that even the best examples of its descendants or, well-grown seed versions often outperform many modern hybrids. The existence of a verifiable benchmark, even a rare one, it elevates the overall standard. It provides a reference point for quality control that growers have to aspire to. It puts pressure on the industry to differentiate true quality from simple branding. Look, if the genetics were truly mediocre, no one would bother with the expense and complexity of legally preserving the original cut.
Predictability is exactly what the market lacks, though. Let's pivot to cultivation difficulty. Is it a flaw or is it a romanticized feature? I'm not convinced that calling its inherent problems a feature really holds up in a competitive industry. Sour diesel's vulnerability to powdery mildew, especially in high humidity environments, is a huge operational risk. To grow it successfully requires disproportionately higher investment in climate control, air filtration, everything, compared to hardier, modern hybrids that have been bred for resilience. Can we truly call genetics elite if they are so fundamentally fragile?
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it differently. The difficulty of growth, the long flower time, the need for meticulous environment control, it simply means that sour diesel is not designed for high-volume, quick-flip commercial runs. It is intrinsically a craft strain, and when it's properly executed by an experienced hand, that 10 to 12-week cycle rewards the grower with above-average yields of incredibly high resin flower. That long maturation time is critical for developing the dense oil glands and the complex metabolites that define the experience.
And you are speaking specifically about its utility in solventless extracts there, aren't you?
Exactly. The genetic potential for high resin concentration means that sour diesel flower yields superb light-colored rosin and buttery batter with exceptional terpene retention. This demonstrates an objective, quantifiable quality that goes beyond just smokable flower. The extended cycle isn't an inefficiency, it's an investment in higher extract quality, which is the ultimate test of resin production. You cannot rush that.
I understand the argument for extracts, but again, the practical reality is that most consumers are buying commercially grown flower, not artisanal, solventless, or verified cuts. Because of the strain's financial risk, the high utility costs, the long wait, the danger of losing a crop, growers are heavily incentivized to compromise. They might harvest early, which strips the plant of its flavor and potency. Or they might push fertilizers too hard, sacrificing the clean smoke. The high bar for success just ensures market failure is common. If a strain requires this much effort just to avoid being mediocre, It's functionally obsolete in the current mass market.
But that inconsistency is a critique of poor horticultural practices, not the genetics themselves. If a grower fails to maximize the potential of a classic Cabernet grape due to cutting corners, we don't declare the entire grape variety overrated. We critique the vineyard. Sour diesel maintains its prestige because its peak performance is still relevant and arguably unbeatable for its specific use case.
Okay, but relevance is precisely what we have to challenge. Let's move to the high itself, THC versus terpenes. We see modern strains routinely hitting 25–30% THC. Sour diesel, even in well-grown batches, often averages 18 to 22%. Its perceived potency is diminishing relative to the competition, which, whether we like it or not, uses THC percentage as the primary metric. Furthermore, that intense cerebral stimulation, that electric sativa rush, it can backfire. It can cause anxiety, paranoia, or a racing mind in higher doses.
That is simply misframing the qualitative experience. The potency of sour diesel is not just a simple THC number. It is defined by a distinct feeling, the celebrated entourage effect. It's revered precisely because it is energizing and focus-enhancing without the typical physical jitters that come with other high THC sativas. That clean motivational high is driven by its terpene profile, the combination of D-limonene for mood elevation paired with beta-caryophyllene. That creates a synergistic effect.
While that synergy is historically powerful, the risk remains. If I, as a consumer, can choose a newer hybrid that's bred for smoothness, offering high euphoria but a more muted, less anxiety-provoking push, why should I choose the classic that comes with the caveat of potential paranoia? The market has evolved. Many consumers simply do not want the aggressive electric buzz that defines sour diesel's reputation.
You're measuring quality by weight and risk avoidance, not by purposeful function. Sour diesel delivers a qualitative experience, a specific form of sharp, creative mental clarity that newer strains often lack because they're bred for bulk THC and a generalized smooth ride. Those strains might be relaxing, sure, but they are not the focused, energetic tool that professionals sought out. The classic wake and bake sensation is uniquely strong in sour diesel because of the specific synergy of its early lineage.
I do acknowledge that that focused buzz has immense historical value, but the fact that its potency has been surpassed by modern cultivars, coupled with its inherent difficulty in cultivation, means the original legend is simply not competitive in terms of consistency or quantitative metrics today.
But the enduring loyalty, the high prices it still commands, and the intense effort to legally preserve the authentic AJ's cut, that all speaks to an inherent genetic value that surpasses mere branding or nostalgia. It maintains its prestige because its peak performance, when achieved, is still unsurpassed for its specific function. Conclusion. So, in the end, I believe sour diesel is rightly legendary. Its unique East Coast heritage, its foundational role in modern breeding, and the powerful focus-enhancing effects it produces when grown authentically. All of this has secured its place as one of the cornerstones of modern cannabis culture. The challenges of its growth are tests of the market and grower dedication, not inherent flaws in the genetic.
And I would argue that while the original ECSD cut is historically significant, the market reality is complex and, well, unforgiving. Its reputation is often a proxy for industry-wide quality control issues and genetic dilution. Consumers must be highly discerning and often pay a premium to find the authentic legend. Otherwise, they risk experiencing an inconsistent, often mid-grade product that simply fails to live up to decades of build-up hype.
Ultimately, the debate over sour diesel really comes down to whether one privileges historical significance and peak genetic potential, or whether one prioritizes market consistency and verifiable quality in the contemporary landscape.
It's a profound split between what we know the strain can be in the hands of a master cultivator and what it usually is when subjected to the pressures of mass commercial production.
We encourage listeners to continue exploring this rich topic to understand why it is praised as legendary and why others view its reputation with such skepticism. Thank you for joining us on The Debate.